What if the person you loved most, the one who held your hand, slept beside you, promised forever, was never human at all? And what if your wedding night wasn't meant for vows, but for blood? I remember the warmth of the champagne glass against my palm, the clink of silver, the velvet drapes brushing my skin. Everything felt perfect, too perfect. I didn't see the shadow behind the charm, didn't question how his eyes never changed in the light, or how he always knew what I was thinking. Before I said a word, he told me I looked like a dream, but his smile, it didn't reach his eyes. I laughed it off, told myself it was just nerves. Every bride is nervous, right? But deep inside, something inside me screamed, run. My name is Helena Rowe, and if you're hearing this, then it's already too late, because this isn't just a story about a wedding, it's a warning. The first sign was so small, so stupid I almost ignored it. My dog refused to enter the room whenever Casimir was there. Growled, low and guttural, like it knew something I didn't. Must be your perfume, he joked. But I hadn't worn any that day. That night I couldn't sleep. His ring, the strange icy metal, burned against my skin like it hated me. And when I took it off, the pain stopped instantly. I should have known then. Should have run. He never ate, never drank, and he always wore gloves, even in summer. He said it was a skin condition. Photosensitivity. Runs in the family, he said with a smirk. But whose family only takes pictures at night? I met him during a blackout. The whole street was dark, except his apartment, lit like a cathedral, candles everywhere. He said power outages didn't bother him. Said the silence helped him hear what matters. I didn't know what that meant, until later. My bridesmaids joked he was a vampire, even bought me garlic as a gag gift. But when I opened it near him, he turned pale, panicked, knocked it from my hands. He said he had allergies, but his eyes weren't afraid. They were angry. The night before the wedding, I saw him in the mirror. Or rather, I didn't. His reflection flickered, vanished, then returned. He said it was the lighting, but I saw it. I know what I saw. He kissed me on the forehead and whispered, "Tomorrow you'll be mine completely." His voice was soft, but cold. Too cold. Flashback. 2 weeks earlier, my aunt pulled me aside, warned me not to marry him, said he reminded her of someone from her past. "He smells like graves," she whispered, then handed me a box. Old wood locked shut. I never opened it, until it was too late. That box held a photo, sepia-toned, torn at the edges. It was him. The same face, same eyes. But the photo was dated 1912. Oh, how could he look exactly the same? My breath caught, hands shaking. I turned the photo over. There, scrawled in red ink, "He marries to feed. Run." But by then, I'd already said yes. They say every bride has cold feet, but mine weren't from nerves. They were from something else. Something crawling just beneath the surface, like the air was trying to warn me. Have you ever walked toward your own death, wearing white? Because that's what this was. This wasn't a wedding. It was a sacrifice, and I was the offering. The morning of the ceremony, something was already wrong. The sky was bruised. Clouds hung low like they were choking on secrets. Birds silent. No wind. No life. Even the flowers arrived dead. White roses, wilted at the edges, as if they knew what was coming. Casimir smiled as I walked down the aisle, but not with love. It was hunger. Quiet. Calculated. Predatory. His eyes didn't blink. Not once. Everyone said the venue was enchanting. An old estate tucked deep in the forest, but the trees leaned inward, like they were listening. And the windows? They were covered. No sunlight. Only candlelight. And something worse. An odd, sour scent in the air. Like rust. Or blood. I heard whispers. Faint. Not in the crowd, but behind the walls. Low voices. Repeating something over and over in a language I didn't know. It felt like the building was breathing. Like something ancient was waking up. My father gripped my arm as he walked me forward, but his hand trembled. When I looked at him, he wouldn't meet my eyes. Later I'd find out why. Casimir placed the ring on my finger. Cold again. That same metal. But this time, it didn't just burn. It pulsed. I felt something enter me. A weight. A silence. A silence in my bones. The officiant was strange. Tall. Too tall. Pale skin stretched thin like parchment. Eyes black. No whites. He never smiled. He never blinked. And when he spoke, the room vibrated. Like his words came from somewhere deeper than sound. Do you take this man to be your eternal bond? Not husband, not partner, bond. And I said yes, because I was scared, because I thought I could figure it out later, because some part of me still hoped I was imagining it. I wasn't. When Casimir kissed me, my vision blurred. A sound filled my head, like wings, hundreds of them, beating against my skull. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, but no one noticed. They clapped, they smiled, and I collapsed. Flashback. The first night we met, I had spilled wine on his sleeve, apologized. He smiled but didn't flinch. Later when I touched that same sleeve, the fabric was dry, bone dry, not even stained. I asked him how. He said, I don't bleed easy. I thought it was a joke. Back in the ceremony hall, I woke up in a dim room, lying on a stone table, veil still on, dress soaked in something wet and sticky. The ring was gone, but the mark it left was burned into my finger, like a brand. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. Someone else was breathing in the room, but not like a person, more like an animal, heavy, wet. Something sniffed me, close to my throat, and then I heard his voice. You were perfect, Casimir whispered. I sat up, heart racing, eyes adjusting to the dark. He was there, standing just inches away, but not dressed like before. His wedding suit was gone. Now, he wore robes, black silk, embroidered in symbols I didn't recognize, and around his neck hung a locket, with a tooth inside. Not human. I told you, he said, brushing my cheek. After tonight, you'll be mine completely. I backed away, slammed into stone. The room was cold, too cold, the kind that seeps into your blood, freezes your thoughts, steals your will. And then I saw it, behind him, on the wall, a mural, painted in dried crimson, hundreds of brides, wearing my dress, my face, all of them, bleeding. He stepped forward, his mouth curved into something too wide, too wrong, and I saw them, finally, the fangs, not small, not delicate, they were ancient, jagged, yellowed like bone left in the sun. He wasn't pretending, he wasn't playing, he was starving. I screamed, but no one came, because there was no one left. Have you ever tried to run, only to find that every exit leads right back to him? Imagine waking up a wife, but realizing you were never meant to be loved, only consumed. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a trap, built over centuries, and every bride before me had vanished into the silence I was now screaming in. I ran, barefoot, dress shredded by stone and panic. The corridor outside the chamber felt endless, narrow, suffocating, like the walls were closing in with each breath. Candles flickered as I passed, but not from wind, from something else, from watching eyes. I didn't cry, not yet, because crying meant I accepted it, and if I accepted it, then I was already dead. I reached a door, heavy, wooden, carved with strange symbols. I pushed. It didn't budge. I shoved harder, my shoulder bruising against the frame, and then it opened, all on its own. I stumbled in, and froze. It was a wedding room. Dozens of dresses lined the walls, all white, all worn, all blood-stained at the neckline, and in the center, a vanity. The mirror cracked, but behind the glass, I saw someone, not me, a woman, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a scream that made no sound. She pressed her palm to the other side of the mirror, and then vanished. Flashback. The bridal fitting 2 weeks ago. The seamstress had been quiet, too quiet. Her hands trembled as she pinned the hem. I asked her if everything was all right. She just said one thing. They always choose girls with necks like yours. Back in the mirror room, I backed away. The silence wasn't normal. It wasn't absence of sound. It was something deeper, something alive. I turned toward the hallway, and there he was, Casimir, standing in the doorway. But something had changed. His pupils, no longer round, slits, like a predator. His skin, translucent, veins visible, moving, feeding. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. He stepped forward, silent, smooth, predatory, and I did something I never thought I'd do. I begged. Please, I whispered. I loved you. His expression flickered. Love. A word that meant nothing to him. Just another mask he wore. Another flavor. He leaned in. I felt the cold of his breath. But there was no smell. Because dead things don't breathe. And then he said it. Oh, into my ear. You were always meant to remember. That's the curse. And suddenly, I did. Flashback. Age 9. A dream I used to have. Always the same. A tall man with pale eyes, whispering into my window, calling me his little bride. I thought it was a nightmare. But now, I remembered the ring. The same ring. Even then, I screamed again. Threw a candle at his face. Flames burst. But he didn't flinch. His skin absorbed it, like it wanted the fire. I ran. Down another hallway. And saw. Light. A door at the end. Sunlight. A way out. I sprinted. Hope pounding in my chest. My hand reached. Touched the handle. But when I opened it, I didn't find the forest. Or the road. Or the world. I found myself. Back in the ceremony hall. The guests seated again. Frozen. Still. Not blinking. Not breathing. Dresses old. Tuxedos moth-eaten. They were never guests. They were brides. And grooms. Past meals. Still sitting. Still watching. Still waiting. I collapsed to my knees. Eyes wide. Lips trembling. I want to wake up, I whispered. But this wasn't a dream. This was his world. Casimir stepped behind me, placed a hand on my shoulder, and whispered, "You opened the wrong door, my love." And then, the walls shifted, like the house was breathing, or laughing, and I understood. This place wasn't built to let me go. It was built to keep me. What if the only way to survive was to go deeper into the nightmare? To climb toward the screams, instead of away from them? Would you dare open the door that's been locked for over a century, if it meant learning what happened to the ones before you? Because that's what I did. And what I found in the attic still won't let me sleep. I didn't think, didn't breathe, just moved. Every part of me was trembling. But rage was louder than fear now. Somewhere between the ceremony hall and that endless hallway, something inside me snapped. I was no longer the prey. I was the witness. And I needed to know what he'd done to them. There was one staircase I hadn't taken. Narrow. Almost hidden behind a torn velvet curtain. Covered in dust thick as ash. The air changed the moment I stepped on it. Colder. Heavier. Like something was pressing on my chest. Every step creaked like a warning. Don't go up. But I did. Flashback. 3 days before the wedding. Casimir had vanished for hours. Said he was handling family arrangements. I wandered the estate alone. Found him in the west wing. Standing before a locked door. He shut it quickly when he saw me. Said it was just old storage. But now, that same door led to the attic. And I was opening it. The smell hit me first. Like metal and mildew. Rotting silk and old secrets. The attic wasn't empty. Not even close. Dresses. Hundreds. Hung from the ceiling like ghost skins. All the same cut. Same size. Same tear at the collar. Each one bore a name tag. Stitched in hand. Delicate, but blood-stained. Leora. Bethan. Mariel. Rosen. All in cursive. All long dead. At the far end, a table. Laid out like a shrine. Candles melted down to black stumps. Petals turned to ash. And in the center a book. Bound in what looked like leather. But it wasn't. It was skin. I opened it with shaking fingers. Each page. A wedding photo. A signature. And a death date. But not all the pages were filled. The last one was blank. Except for a name. Helena Rowe. My name. My breath caught. The ink was still wet. Like it had just been written. Behind me. A whisper. Too close. But when I turned. No one. Only shadows. And yet. I wasn't alone. I could feel her. Her voice wasn't loud. But it was inside my chest. Burn it. She whispered. Burn the book. I backed away. Spun toward the other wall. That's when I saw them. Portraits. Huge. Oil on canvas. Each one showed Casimir. Standing beside a bride. Different eras. Different faces. Same eyes, haunted. Same hands, trembling. None of them smiling. And above each painting carved into the wood. Until she remembers. Flashback. My dream as a teenager. A face in a mirror. A hand reaching through smoke. A voice whispering. Don't let him kiss you. I thought it was just sleep paralysis. But now, I saw her face again. On the wall. Fifth portrait from the left. Was me. I turned to run. But the attic door slammed shut. Locked. And then, they came. The brides. Faint at first. Figures in the dark. Whispers in my ears. Tattered gowns. Mouths sewn shut. Eyes wide, pleading. some missing limbs, others just floating, like they weren't fully here. One reached for me, her fingers icy, and in my head, I heard her. He doesn't just feed, he buries memories. He drinks the part of you that says no. I fell to my knees, clutching the book. It was pulsing, like a heartbeat. My heartbeat. Because as long as the book lived, so did the bond. I knew what I had to do, but I hesitated. What? Because a part of me still felt the ring. Still felt his lips on my forehead. Still felt the lie that he loved me. And then the attic whispered again. If you don't end it, you'll become one of us. I crawled to the candles, lit a match with trembling hands, tore the page with my name, and set it on fire. It burned too fast, too bright. The room screamed, not with voices, but with memories, and then, silence. The attic door opened behind me, softly, quietly, like it was inviting me to escape. But I wasn't sure if it was real, or if I had just joined the others. What if the person you loved most was only pretending to be human, because he needed your blood to remember his own past? What if every bride he chose wasn't chosen for beauty, but for memory? Because love wasn't what Casimir was after. He was after identity, and I was his final key. After I burned the page with my name, the air changed. The attic grew still, like it was watching me. But I knew it wasn't over. The fire was only the beginning. The book may have marked me, but Casimir still held the bond. Still fed from the one thing I didn't know I had. My memory. I descended the stairs slowly. Each step felt like it might vanish beneath me. But I didn't stop. Couldn't. Something had cracked open in my mind. And now, I remembered things that weren't supposed to surface. Memories that weren't just mine. Flashback. Age 5. A garden. Red roses blooming in winter. A man crouched behind me whispering a lullaby. Not my father, but familiar. He touched the back of my neck, and something inside me shivered. That same shiver came back as I reached the bottom step of the house. Casimir was waiting. He stood at the end of the hallway, calm, composed, but there was blood on his cuffs, and it wasn't mine. Helena, he said, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't seen the attic, like I hadn't nearly joined his graveyard of brides. I told you not to go upstairs. His voice was silk, but laced with something brittle, like his calm was stretched too thin. I didn't scream, didn't run. I faced him, and for the first time, I didn't see a man. I saw hunger, not just for blood, but for something deeper. History. You don't love me, I said. He tilted his head. I never claimed to. Flashback. The first night he kissed me, he pulled back and whispered, "You taste like someone I lost." I laughed then, thought it was poetic. But now I knew. He wasn't in love with me. He was trying to remember her. The first, the original bride. And all of us since, were just echoes. You chose me because I look like her, I said. He smiled sadly. No, I chose you. Because you are her. My stomach dropped. What? He stepped closer. Reincarnation. Memory. Essence. Call it what you want. But I've been searching. Across centuries. And every time I get close, she slips away. You're not trying to marry me, I whispered. You're trying to complete some ritual. He didn't deny it. Instead, he knelt before me, held my wrist, pressed his lips to my pulse. You don't understand. You're the only one who remembers my real name. Flashback. Age 12. A night terror. A voice whispering in Latin. Words I didn't understand. But now, they echoed again. The same words I saw etched into the walls of the attic. Casimir's birth name wasn't Casimir. It was something older. Nimerath. The moment I said it out loud, he flinched, pulled back, eyes wide, nostrils flared. You remembered, he hissed. The walls shook. Candlelight flared. The ground beneath us trembled. Because that name, his real name, was never meant to be spoken again. And by saying it, I unbound something. His body twisted. Not fully human anymore. Flesh pulsing. Veins bulging. Fangs descending. He grabbed his chest, like something was breaking loose inside him. You've ruined everything, he gasped. I kept you safe. No, I snapped. You kept me buried. Suddenly, the house moaned. Not from wind, but from something ancient beneath the floors. The portraits in the hall cracked. One by one. Glass exploding. Frames falling. And then, a voice. Female. Screaming from the walls. Remember me. It wasn't me screaming. It was her. The original. The bride I once was. And now, she was clawing her way through me. I collapsed, vision blurring. Casimir lunged, but midair, something hit him. A wind, forceful, violent, shaped like a woman. It slammed him into the wall. Art, cracks forming beneath his spine. And there she was, a figure behind the flame, draped in shredded silk, eyes black, veins glowing red. The first bride, the real Helena. She spoke through me, voice layered, ancient, filled with grief. You took my name, my face, my soul. You won't take another. He screamed, not like a man, like something trying to stay in this world. But she was stronger. She'd waited lifetimes for this. And now, she had her body back. I blinked, sweat pouring, the air thin. The hallway collapsed. The portraits burned. And Casimir? Gone. Ashes in the shape of a scream. What if killing the monster wasn't the end of the nightmare, but the beginning of something worse? What if the moment you were finally free, you realized you'd been chosen to carry what he left behind? Because evil doesn't always die. Sometimes, it transfers. And in my case, it came home with me. The house was collapsing. Portraits cracking. Candles flickering out. Walls splitting like dry skin in winter. I stumbled through smoke and stone. Eyes watering, lungs burning. Dress scorched and torn, dragging behind me like a second spine. My name had been erased from the book. Casimir's ashes scattered in a broken hallway. And yet, I wasn't celebrating. Because I felt it. In my marrow. The silence hadn't left. It had just shifted. I reached the front doors. They weren't locked anymore. In fact, they opened before I touched them. Almost like the house wanted me to go. And that was the first sign something was wrong. The forest outside was no longer dark. It wasn't night. But it wasn't daylight either. The trees looked the same. And yet they didn't. They stood still, too still. Like they were carved from grief. No wind. No insects. No sound at all. Just me. And the dress. And the feeling that something was walking 2 steps behind. Flashback. The morning of the wedding. I had looked in the mirror, trying to picture myself as a wife. But the reflection stared back like a stranger. My eyes had looked older. Haunted. Now, that same face looked back again. But not from a mirror. From the window of a passing car as I walked toward the road. A woman inside, staring at me. My face. But wrong. Smiling. I shook it off. Kept walking. Found my way to the nearest road. No phone. No shoes. Blood dried to my collarbone. Eventually, a man in a pickup stopped. His face went pale when he saw me. He handed me a blanket. Didn't ask many questions. But when I told him my name, he blinked, swallowed, and said, "Are you sure?" He dropped me off at the nearest police station. I told them everything. The house. The attic. Casimir. The fire. They looked at each other. Frowned. Then asked me to sit down. That's when the female officer pulled up an article and slid it across the desk. Helena Rowe. Died in 1932. Bride found drained of blood. Husband never found. My photo. Black and white. Same dress. Same eyes. I couldn't breathe. "No," I whispered. "I'm not her. That's not possible. That's not me." The officer didn't move. Didn't blink. Then she said, "We get one of you every 30 years. Flashback. Casimir's words. "You are her." And now, I couldn't deny it. Some part of me, some thread of memory, had survived the burning, had crossed lifetimes, names, bodies, and somehow, still ended up here, wearing white, walking down an aisle that led to death. But there was something worse, because after I left that station, after I was sent to a hospital, cleaned up, given food, bet, I started to dream again. Same dream. Every night. Same room. Same window. And a man, tall, pale, whispering my name from the dark. Only now, it wasn't Casimir. It was me. I stood outside the house, looking in, calling to a girl inside. A girl in white, trembling. And I whispered, "You taste like someone I lost." I woke up screaming. But not from fear. From recognition. Because Casimir didn't just want to remember. He didn't want to feed. Not forever. He wanted release. And to do that, someone had to take his place. Someone who remembered. Someone who burned the book. Someone like me. I left the hospital after 3 days. But things weren't the same. Mirrors rippled. Dogs growled. Old women crossed themselves when I walked past. And my reflection? Sometimes it smiled. When I wasn't, then I got a package. No return address. Inside, a ring. His ring. Cold. Metal. Still pulsing. Still waiting. And under it, a note. Handwritten. 2 words. Your turn. I dropped it, but it didn't hit the floor. It vanished midair and reappeared on my finger. I screamed. Tried to rip it off. It wouldn't budge. Burned into me. Like the curse wasn't over. Just transferred. Flashback. That dream again. But now I'm in the house. Leading someone up the attic stairs. Whispering to her. Don't be afraid. It's just old storage. And her eyes? Look just like mine did. The curse didn't need a monster to survive. It just needed a memory. A vessel. And I had become it. So now I wait. Not in a coffin. Not behind a locked door. But in plain sight. Because the curse doesn't live in fangs or fire. It lives in love. And lies. In that one perfect man. Who knows your favorite wine. Your favorite song. And your blood type. What if Casimir wasn't the beginning? What if the curse didn't start with him? But with her? We always think monsters are born in the shadows. But sometimes, they're made by love. By betrayal. By the lies we bury beneath wedding veils and whispered vows. Because not all brides are victims. And not all monsters are men. This is how it ends. And how it all began. The ring still wouldn't come off. No matter how hard I pulled. No matter how many times I screamed. It stayed. Cold. Pulsing. Alive. It wasn't just metal. It was memory. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her. The first. The true bride. But not as a victim. Not afraid. She stood over Casimir's bed. Holding the ring he would wear for eternity. And her words still haunt me. I made you. Now I'll never let you go. I needed answers. Real ones. Not from books. Not from fading dreams. But from the one place I swore I'd never return to. The estate. It wasn't ash. It should have burned. Should have crumbled. But when I arrived, it was whole. The walls stood tall. The windows gleamed. The velvet curtains swayed gently in wind that didn't exist. Like it had been waiting. The moment I stepped through the doors, the air closed around me. Not hostile. Not warm. Familiar. As if I had never left. Each step echoed differently. Like they remembered who had walked them before. I followed instinct. Not memory. Because deep inside, something else was leading me now. And she was no longer silent. I found a staircase I hadn't noticed before. Covered by an old painting. A portrait of a woman in white. Smiling too wide. Not Casimir. Not me. Someone else. I moved the canvas aside. Dust poured down. But beneath it, a narrow spiral staircase. Descending. Into the earth. The further I went, the colder it became. Not from temperature. But from truth. And at the bottom, the room. Stone walls. No windows. Dozens of mirrors. None of them reflected me. But in each one, I saw a different version of her. The bride. And in the center of the floor, a circle. Symbols carved deep. Still glowing faint red. And beside it, a single name etched in bone. Seraphine. Flashback. The whisper from part 4. The one that said, burn it. It wasn't Helena. It wasn't a victim. It was her. Seraphine. The bride before the first memory. The one who cursed Casimir. The one who created the bond. The mirrors shimmered. And she stepped out. Pale skin. Lips stained black. Eyes the color of old blood. She looked at me like I was her child. Her heir. You carried it well, she said softly. Better than the others. Who are you? I whispered. She tilted her head. The beginning. She explained everything. Casimir wasn't born cursed. He was chosen. Loved Seraphine once. Truly. But he betrayed her. Left her for another. So she bound him. Not just to herself. But to the idea of love. Twisting it. Poisoning it. So that every woman he fell for after would die remembering someone else's pain. Hers. But then something unexpected happened. One of the brides, me, remembered. Not just the pain. Not just the ritual. But the truth beneath it. The origin. The seed. And now. That made me dangerous. Seraphine circled me. Her bare feet never touched the floor. You broke the loop, she said. But breaking it isn't enough. Now, you must replace it. The ring tightened. Burned. I fell to my knees. Memories slammed into me like waves. Hundreds of brides. Hundreds of lifetimes. Each screaming. Each bleeding. Each begging to forget. I clutched my head, begged for silence. But she wasn't done. You think killing him ended the curse? She hissed. No. It simply passed the hunger to you. And I understood. I hadn't survived. I had inherited. Every ritual, every memory, every scream. They were all inside me now. And Seraphine? She was finally free. She vanished. Smoke rising where she stood. And in the mirror before me, my reflection returned. But my eyes weren't mine anymore. They were his. Casimir's. Flashback. His voice in the garden. His whisper in my dream. You taste like someone I lost. Now I knew what he meant. He wasn't feeding to survive. He was feeding to find her. Because she had cursed him to crave what he once destroyed. And me? Now I crave it too. I left the estate. Again. But this time, I didn't need a ride. I walked through town. People stared. But not with pity. With recognition. Like they'd seen my face. In portraits. Like I belonged to something they feared. But couldn't name. And that night, I dreamed again. Only this time, I wasn't in the house. I was at a wedding. My wedding. The groom smiled. And the bride? The one walking down the aisle? Was you. Because that's how it works now. I don't wear fangs. I don't sleep in coffins. I wear white. I wear silk. I wear a smile. And when I say I do, I don't mean love. I mean remember me. So if you ever feel like you've lived this life before, if you dream of a man you've never met, or see your face in a mirror that doesn't feel right, don't ignore it. Because it's your turn now. And the ring is waiting. Do you think the curse is broken, or has it just changed faces? Comment your answer below. And subscribe for more terrifying true stories before she chooses you next. If you want more chilling true crime stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the Veil of Secrets.